call to order the Architectural Board of Review for August 4th, 2025. Let's start with roll call.
Thank you. I'll proceed with roll call. Chair Anderson,
Here.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Here.
Board Member Anderson,
Here.
Board Member Black,
Here.
Board Member Noon,
Here.
Board Member Six,
Here.
Board Member Sovereign.
Here.
We have quorum. Thank you.
Thank you. We will move on to public comment. So any member of the public may address the board for up to 2 minutes on any subject within its jurisdiction that is not on today's agenda.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. I will start with in-person public comment. At this time, I do not have any slips for general public comment. If anyone wishes to make a general public comment, they may fill out a slip and bring it to me. I see no one in the audience moving to do so, and now we will turn our attention to virtual general public comment. And I do not see any hands raised for general public comment virtually, and we did not receive any written correspondence for general public comment. So at that, I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Anderson.
Thank you. We will close general public comment and move on to the approval of the minutes from the meeting on July 7th.
Motion to approve? Second.
Great. Any discussion? Okay, let's take a vote.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. Vice Chair Whalen,
Yes.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Black,
Yes.
Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member Six,
Yes.
Board Member Sovereign,
Yes.
Chair Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, moving on to the approval of the minutes from the consent meeting on July 7th and July 14th. Do I have a motion?
Yes, so moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, let's take a vote.
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Yes.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Black,
Yes.
Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member Six,
Yes.
Board Member Sovereign.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, and then ratification of action taken on consent calendar of July 28th and August 4th.
So this was July 28th consent hearing, 915 East Montecito Street. This was a proposal for a large housing project. The project is seeking approvals based on state government code, Housing Affordable Accountability Act, Teacher Housing Act, and Affordable Housing Streamlined Approval Bill. The proposal is to demolish all existing site improvements, including the existing single-story building, for a new four-story, 48,648 square foot, 30-unit apartment complex for school district employees. The total of 30 units are proposed using the city's average unit density incentive program and state density bonus law, and will be 100% affordable to lower income households. The unit mix is comprised of 10 one-bedroom, 12 two-bedroom, and 8 three-bedroom units with an average unit size of 968 square feet. The project will provide 41 parking spaces at the first level of the building and a parking garage. The project includes removal of 8 trees on site, protecting 2 street trees in place, and new landscaping throughout, including 9 replacement trees. And that was given approval as requested. So that requires compliance with the city's design standards checklist for affordable housing. Streamlined approval action is not appealable. So that was that one.
No comments at all, just approved.
Well, just a footnote on that. Member Black and I were here for that because it was under the state bonus density law. There was really nothing that we could comment on, or so very little.
Yeah, that's correct. And I can go into that further you all would like, but we're starting to see more of these. This is our second one, so if they meet all of our objective design standards, the board's role is just to make sure that those objective standards are met, so new housing law stuff.
Great, okay.
And these are rules typically that apply to 100% affordable
That's my understanding.
projects, yes?
Yes. I can get you more information on that. There's a lot of laws involved in that, so I don't know. I don't want to answer.
I understand.
Okay, thank you.
If we're going to do those separately, I'll make a motion to ratify that.
We are.
Oh, we are, okay.
Okay.
Do we have a seconder?
Second, go ahead.
Great.
Do we do those separately?
Yes.
Okay. So do we need to take a vote on that?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a
Chair
question.
Anderson?
Wait, sorry, there's a
on.
question. Go ahead.
So what are we then ratifying?
We're
I guess?
ratifying the action that was taken, and the action on that item that was project design and final approval as submitted.
But there was no
No
ability to
additional
comment on that.
comments because the action is not appealable, and it was meeting all of the objective design standards in the opinion of the consent reviewers.
So we're just
We're just
saying
like
that-
saying, yes, you meet the objective design standards that we also helped put together
Yeah.
last year.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks.
Chair Anderson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen?
Yes.
Board Member Anderson?
Yes.
Board Member Black?
Yes.
Board Member Noon?
Yes.
Board Member Six?
Yes.
Board Member Sovereign?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And then today on your agenda packet here, we had two items. So final approval for 1150 San Roque Road. That was a city project that received final approval as submitted. And I can actually pull up those minutes or, not the minutes, but the agenda. Oops. Oh, you moved it.
I
You
did.
got rid of it. Okay. No, it's okay. I don't actually have it available. But then the second item was 630 East Mitchell Terrain Street that received project design and final approval is a retaining wall separating two properties. And those were the only two. So
I'll make a motion to ratify without any minutes.
Second.
Okay, let's take a vote.
Chair Anderson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen?
Yes.
Board Member Anderson?
Yes.
Board Member Black?
Yes.
Board Member Noon?
Yes.
Board Member Six?
Yes.
Board Member Sovereign?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, do we have any announcements, requests by applicants for continuances and withdrawals, future agenda items, or appeals?
no announcements, requests, or continuances, withdrawals, or agenda items, or appeals. So nothing from staff.
Okay, any subcommittee reports? No, okay. All right, let's move on to our only item for today. This is a continued item for project design approval, 1611 Castillo Street. A proposal for 5 new residential units under the city's average unit size density incentive program with 5 vehicle parking spaces, 4 spaces provided in covered carports, and 1 uncovered accessible space. The existing development includes a 3-unit apartment building with 3 covered parking spaces and is proposed to remain. Building permits are under review for site improvements, including a new driveway, parking area, trash room, and site landscaping, and for 2 new detached 1-story special accessory dwelling units. Project design approval is requested, requires compliance with the project compatibility findings and urban design guidelines, was last reviewed on March 17th, 2025. Anything from staff before we go?
No additional comments from staff.
Okay, and then do you want to pull up the minutes if you have them from the last meeting? Okay, well, welcome back. Please introduce yourselves, and you'll have 15 minutes to respond to our comments and walk us through your plans.
Thank you. Ellen Bilston Architecture and Planning. Glad to be back to talk about this project.
Scott Stanky, Bilston Architecture and Planning, work with Ellen.
So we'll go through the drawing set here. On the upper left, we're looking at the existing 3 units that are on site, multifamily units. The second one over is the bus stop along Arriaga Street, which is one parcel away from where the property is located as a buffer. On the right side, we've got another view of that existing 3-unit multifamily building. We see it from the driveway on the lower left, another streetscape view at the middle there. Off on the right, we are looking at the front of that existing building facing Castillo Street. Across the bottom, we have the streetscape along Castillo and the driveway. And far on the right, there is a legend to show you where all these views are taken from. On next sheet, we show our neighborhood context. So this is the view at the corner of Arriaga and Castillo towards the property. Then we go further along to the view off of Castillo towards that existing building. This is on Mitchell Terrena, an example of a flat-roofed structure that has some Spanish colonial aspects to it, including a corner detail that is a raised corner parapet detail. That was something that we adopted in the recent revisions that we made. So that context figured into what we were doing. Similar on the far left, that raised corner detail. This middle picture, is the existing multifamily house off to the right of our property as we look along Castillo Street. Another flat-roofed, stucco-faced building immediately adjacent. And those red images at the bottom are at the corner on the opposite side of the street with that raised detail again and stucco and some bright, vivid colors to bring some fun to the neighborhood. More examples of similar things, similar details, flat roofs, raised corner parapets, all around the neighborhood. They're quite predominant on Valerio, on Arriaga. And then another map to show you where all those are in the vicinity. This sheet, maybe I can zoom out.
To the next PDF that shows all our pictures.
I think let's just go through this set quickly. Yeah. So this is our existing topographical survey showing there's a fair amount of slope on the site existing, and how we're handling that. There it is. Yeah, let's go to the next page. And this is our site plan. So we're adding 5 AUD units. That one there at the corner, 1 down, 2 down, and 3 down. All stepping with the topography. On the upper edge there are the 2 ADUs that we had already, the permits are ready to pull for, ready to issue. And then below those are the 3 existing units that you saw in those other images. And then a driveway and access to parking down below is that paved area. I also wanted to point out that I think today, hopefully we can resolve the alternate open yard approach. The property is really I mean, the way we're accomplishing the 15% required open yard is with elements that are somewhat smaller than the 10 feet in all directions. So those pink marked items are the ones that add up to the required, and then some amount of square footage, but not quite with the dimensions that are standard. Also point out that we have a 10-foot setback along the the left side, yeah, that we're showing, as well as along Castillo Street, just making things a little tougher to fit everything properly on the site. And there's that wedge-shaped property that's between this property and the bus stop along Arriaga Street, like we mentioned earlier. These are the existing plans of the 3-unit multifamily that's already there, just for reference. There will be no changes to that building. And then this zooms in a bit more on the 5 units that we're proposing to add, slightly larger than before. Bike parking areas, covered carports, all the requirements for AUD. That's the upper plan of the same view. And the roof plan. Elevations of the existing 3-unit multifamily. And these are elevations that I think were superseded by the other ones that we added, right? So I'll zoom ahead with those. We'll go through the elevations, but just not those.
Can I pull up the additional PDF?
Yeah, so there's another tab underneath that red square. You go down to the bottom.
If you hover over the
Hover over the PDF tab at the bottom. Yeah. Middle of the page. Just hover it. Right. And then you open up the other pages.
Oh, there it is. Cool. Yeah, so we've been studying this building very thoroughly since we last spoke with you, and realized that detail that we were seeing very commonly in the neighborhood was something that was something we really wanted to make sure we were studying thoroughly. And so you see that we've changed the materials since last time we met. We're now a series of volumes of stucco and wood siding elements and volumes. We've added some detailing at each of the entrances with a sort of trellis porch type overhang that puts some shade and shadow. Under those, we have that transition of material from stucco to wood siding. Excuse me. We did a lot of revisions to the windows to make them more traditional in their shapes and sizes compared to what we had before. Here we're seeing 3 of the units, and they're all stepping down with the topography of the site. So we've got it's stucco and wood for unit G, and then similar for H, I, and J all along there. Did you want to add anything to that, Scott?
Just to add, we did a lot of studying on the neighborhood and how Santa Barbara traditionally with a stucco building. And so what we did is we added a little depth so that these weren't going to be just stuck on modern windows, which was similar to what we were showing before we changed this to stucco when we had all of the paneling. And so with your suggestion, the board's suggestion, we went and looked at adding a little bit deeper, like a punched opening window, and we feel like it definitely gives it more of that feel of more of a tradition and kind of what's around more of the old 1920s buildings in the neighborhood. And so we were real pleased with how that kind of brought out the compatibility. One last thing I would want to point out is we really tried hard to keep that scale, because your minutes, you stated our last hearing that you were happy with how we made the compatibility and the scale of the buildings. And even though this may be one building we did feel like the use of the materials really helped it feel of the scale of the neighborhood in which it sits. And
Let's go into the next image just
yeah,
to.
because there's a lot more to help
Yeah.
explain it.
Right. So, yeah, so this sort of gives you all the different views from the different sides where the wood and the stucco, combination of materials is happening throughout. And then let's go on to the next one. And that one.
Here we go.
So here's a study of the massing of the building in the context of the neighborhood. So we see, this project roughly at the center of the view that you have right now. Off to the lower right is that neighboring multifamily building, white stucco parapet roof, flat roof. In the distance on the other side of Mission Creek, it's a mansard roof with a flat in the center. We see here the Arriaga on and off ramps onto the freeway, just for context to see kind of how it relates to that. This view off to the left, we're seeing that sort of reddish-orange building at the corner that we mentioned earlier from the streetscape with very similar details and materials to what we have on our building.
And I think, I'm just going to jump in here, Ellen. What we really like about this is the scale of our buildings, and also when you take a step back, obviously no one, unless you're in a helicopter, is going to see this, but it really helps. You could see how it fits within the context of the neighborhood. And as I move down, we have a couple more images like this. Yeah. And you could see, okay, that feels a lot more massive than our building, but we're using some of the same materials that you see throughout. And so we are real pleased with the corner and how it kind of represented the neighborhood because it is the corner of that intersection. But what we did find very interesting is how this may be the on-off ramp onto the 101. Unless you're in the air, you don't really get that feeling as much as we thought it would be impacting of when you're exiting. So what we did is we did a photo simulation study where we took a picture of a car as if you were in the car getting off the freeway, and then also one on the corner here of the intersection as if you're getting ready to go on the freeway. And we'll share with you what those views kind of show. Mm-hmm. Oh, I guess we'll get there. This is just a little hint to, basically if you live here, this is how it fits, and this is the existing, and these are the units and how we made this little community area work out for parking. And I think Ken and Ellen did a good job of getting all the requirements in here and still made this feel very accessible. So this is Castillo Street. This is that main entrance right here. Moving on down to the intersection. And this is a view for your eyes only because the city has a 6-foot high fence there that you pretty much can't see through beyond the little bus stop, and we'll show you what we mean.
But if you stood just inside that fence, this is what you would see
Correct.
of the massing.
And again, we want to point out we tried to put like our own little ode to the 1920s style of these the corner units. Kind of every building had its little foundational detail. So here we are, before picture, taken on May 16th. This is we actually moved to a more advantageous spot, the hope, to make our point where you can see the building. And so this is before, and this is after. And if I can make this proper, sorry, escape. This one,
Yeah, let's keep going. To
there,
the
that's what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be able to jump back and forth. There you go. So you can see here with all the foliage that exists there.
Okay, thank you.
By the creek. before and after, just to make that really clear what you actually see coming off the freeway. Anything to add? Should I
Nope.
move on?
Nope.
Okay. So here we are at the intersection looking to the northbound on-ramp to the 101. There's the existing building. This is the existing fence on the city lot. And then right here is where our fence for the property starts. And so this is if we remove our fence and leave the cities intact. And this is without the landscape. We didn't want to hide anything, show you kind of like, this is right after development. Landscaping's not mature, but this is what you would see. Kind of a worst case scenario. So again, here we are before, and here we are after. And I think the last thing we want to show you, just to give you a real feel of the scale of this thing, is we did a little video of driving down and going around the corner. Hopefully it plays. Oh, you got it set up. You're awesome, Will.
Thanks, Will.
You might want to re-scrub it back to the beginning. It might have accidentally played just a little bit.
Okay, gotcha. I'm touchy on that mouse here.
Right, so this is walking along Castillo towards the intersection with Arriaga. So that's the very corner unit. And then out to the sidewalk along Arriaga without the fence that's actually there. We really liked how the shadows from the trellis at each of the entries was kind of playing on the stucco walls.
That's a little time lapse there at the end, going from afternoon to more late afternoon.
So last items, I think we've reviewed the ABR and urban design guidelines and went through the compatibility finding requirements. We feel that what we are showing you today really fits with all of those compatibility items along with size, bulk, scale, the materials, the public views, the use of open space and landscaping. Also, I just wanted to point out, we've been granted a complete letter for planning, so I think we're eligible for PDA review today as well. So we'll look forward to your comments.
Great, thank you. We will open up public comment for item 1.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. I'll start with in-person public comment. I do have a slip from Christine Newhouser. If you could approach the podium, you will have 2 minutes to speak.
Excuse me. Okay. What looks better than it did before. But I still think that the project needs to go back. I don't think, I think it's contrary still to the surrounding areas, which ABR already asked the applicant to do more than consider, but to adhere to. For it to be compatible with the neighborhood, I think it looks like office buildings, doctor's office, and I wouldn't want to call it home. But the changes are sort of minimal. I mean, the little parapet twist at the end, and then the going from stucco to the brown, which it does look better than it looked before. But still, I don't see it being neighborhood compatibility. So I just feel like it doesn't look like Santa Barbara. And when you're driving and you're getting off the freeway and you're in that neighborhood, it doesn't look like that at all. It looks like doctor's office. So it's highly visible next to the 101 on-ramp, and it should present something that's more beautiful, more Santa Barbara, and not quite so office-looking like it looks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have Mr. Rick Clausen. You will have 2 minutes to speak.
Is that 2 minutes, like the 15 minutes that the applicant had? My name is Rick Clausen. We've talked before. I scribbled some notes. You have 2 letters from me today. I'm not going to retread that exactly. I think the architect applicant here has offered little new information beyond what my comments were in those letters. I will call out, though, that they had to scour 28 square city blocks to find the comparables for this project, and I don't think anybody will agree that 28 square blocks is where you have to go to find comparables if you're trying to define a neighborhood. Many of my citizen complaints would go away if the architectural style was just simply compatible with what we know and love in Santa Barbara. From the first, the design of the structures in this project have been incompatible with what the public considers the neighborhood and Santa Barbara in general. In this city, we have a long history of residential structures that look like people actually live in them. They have windows that allow homeowners to relate to their street views and pedestrians to comfortably infer the home inside. The proposed structures resemble more like a sterile research lab. And the photos that the applicant shows today of the exit from the freeway are incorrect. They're taken from the view of the height of the bridge as it crosses the river, it's the culvert, not 10 feet below where you first exit the freeway and start to come up, and then you look up and see the buildings. This is just a compatibility issue. I'm a public citizen. That's all I really can talk about, is the style that I see as a pedestrian. I don't know anything about the labors, the architectural labors or the engineering labors of doing homes on a parcel that has a slope like this. It doesn't look good.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I do not have any further slips for public comment. If anyone else wishes to make a comment, they may fill one out. Okay. Okay. All right,
Okay, if you want to, you can say, okay. No, you have to come up to the podium
You have to
and
come
say
up
your
to the
name
podium.
if you're gonna.
And state your name for the record.
I don't know you, but I'm glad to hear you.
I'm a long-time resident.
So
just pull.
Grandparents and you name it, they were here before I was here. My name is Alice Forbes, and I have a house on Arriaga that I lived in for a few years. And have you ever been down that street during commute time, 5 o'clock? It's a freeway. Arriaga is a freeway to get to the freeway. Constantly. No parking. No parking. You know, my granddaughter lives in that house. And it takes her forever to get out of the driveway because of the traffic. So she has a time now. But I've been there at that house. I lived in it for a while, back in the 70s. And my house doesn't look like your pictures. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to, I'm just saying the neighborhood doesn't look like that. Mine's a little cottage next to a grand old Victorian house. And across the street, I don't know, do you live in that area? On Arriaga? We own a building in that area. Do you?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you know what I'm talking about then, They're all older looking homes. That's Santa Barbara. I also own property on Coder Street. And they're stucco, but they still have the red roofs, and all that we're supposed to have, so to speak. And it's that corner. Everybody goes down Castillo Street off of Mission. And all the traffic that goes down that street and all the traffic, I don't see how those people are going to be going. I call it a hole. Sorry, but I call it a hole. Last year we had floods.
Thank you.
In
That's 2
between
minutes.
Coda? Oh, okay. Well, I know I can go on, but
Thank you.
You have to consider the creek. because there was flooding last year.
Okay.
Oh, Alice Forbes. 489.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will finish public comment. At this time, I do not have any hands raised for virtual comment. And we did receive written correspondence, 2 letters from Mr. Richard Clausen and 1 from a Mr. Brian Hoffer. And at that, I will turn it back over to you, Chair Anderson.
Okay, thank you. We will close public comment for item 1. I had a question for staff. During the presentation, there was something about they wanted us to respond to open yard, but that's not in the project description. Is that something we actually need to comment on?
Yes, and that's my apologies. So there's findings, and I can actually pull those up. So I can repeat myself. Yes, my apologies. That is something that should have been listed in the project description, but there are findings to grant open yard or alternative open yard approval. So, and we actually need to put these on our PowerPoint as well, but there are 2 findings right here. The alternative open yard design is necessary to provide flexibility in architectural style or site organization, such as the preservation of natural features, enhanced circulation, shared amenities, or the protection/creation of scenic views. And B, approval of the alternative open yard design will meet the purpose of the required open yard as described in this section. So to circle back, it has been deemed complete. The applicant's requesting an alternative open yard design, so the board can either make those findings or not. And I'm here if you have any other questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for staff on that before we?
Yes,
Okay.
Chair Anderson, on that point, I'm not quite clear on what an open yard means. Does that mean that it's accessible?
I can find the definition of it.
Or just portions of the site are not developed? That's it?
Correct, and they have a specific dimension that's required to meet for an open yard, and what some of their open yard spaces don't quite meet the minimum dimension
Of
the definition of an open yard.
Right. So that's what the allowance,
The alternative.
the alternative
design, yeah.
is that some of these areas do not meet minimum
Correct.
dimensions
And some
that
do.
amount to 15% in totality.
Right. And
Correct.
we can have the applicant walk us through that
That's-
if we need to.
That's very helpful. I also noticed that in the open yard spaces for units 4 and 3, which is the existing building, those are really private spaces, aren't they? They don't really meet the definition of open yard? Or is that part
Right,
of
so-
the exception that you're seeking?
Those areas are along.
For the benefit of the rest of the board, let's wait till we get
Yeah, sure,
an image
sorry.
up there that portrays what that one does. If you could zoom in on the corner, the lower right corner of your project,
Yep.
4 and 3, those really are not available to the complex as a whole, right?
I mean, they're open spaces. They are adjacent to a particular unit, but they are, I mean, others at the complex could go there.
So how is number 3 different from number 5, just to make my point?
The pink marked ones are the ones that are less than the dimensions.
So is 5 exclusively for Unit F, that is fenced off with access?
Yes.
So that would be the case for Unit 3, too. I think that answers my question.
Yep.
I have one other question for our erstwhile staff member. I think Ms. Bildstein mentioned this. Is the project now deemed complete?
Yes, it has been deemed complete, so they're ready for.
So this would count as the first of 5 meetings if the clock is ticking. Do I understand that correctly?
Let me get back to you on that.
Okay.
I will have an answer to you.
But the meeting count doesn't begin until they're deemed complete, so now they're complete and back at
It's a
their
good question.
first meeting.
I feel like we've been told different things, so.
And
Okay,
Yeah.
let's all
let
get
me double
clear
check.
on this.
Let me double check before
I-
and I'll have an answer for you shortly. So,
Great.
Let's see.
You want to move into questions?
Those, I can, sure, and I don't have a lot. I noticed house numbers on the building. Was that just, some of them were on the east side, which didn't make any sense at all. So is that just kind of a placeholder?
We put them where the entry points are for the units, so
Right.
these two clearly are coming off the
But there was
sidewalk.
one, there it is. Oh,
So there's
I
a
see, you
stair that comes up from the inner part of the
but
courtyard.
You'd never see the house number. Anyways, small point,
True,
irrelevant.
but you're right.
Just to confirm, the ADUs are not changing at all. They're still that original design.
That's
So
right.
in a sense, we get three design expressions, the ADUs, the existing Monterey style, and the proposed. All right.
Right. Well, we started this process where the AUDs were looking much like the
Yeah.
ADUs, but now they don't.
Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Board Member 6?
Thank you, Chair Anderson. Can you, how deep are your, you mentioned that you've changed from a surface-mounted window to a recessed window. How deep are the recesses for both the stucco, and how deep are the recesses for the board and bat?
So those are 2x6 framed exterior walls to accommodate the required insulation in them. And so the windows are set 2 inches back from the surface to be,
On both materials?
right, so the fins are on a inner layer of 2x4.
Yes, okay. In the plans online, I noticed, especially, I think, the mid-unit on Castillo, unit 5, I think. Oops, excuse me, is that 5? Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah, we've
open
got
yard. Excuse me, unit F.
F is the middle one on
On the
Castillo.
elevation, would you go to the elevations for Castillo?
Would you like to see the floor plan?
Elevations?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
The elevation or the?
elevation,
Three
yeah,
hundred.
yeah, there, yeah. Next one?
Yeah, that one there, right.
Okay, so those banded windows on building F have gone away.
Yes.
Okay, good. Now, could you go through the other, are there still, it seems to me there's still banded windows on some interior elevations?
Yes.
Long horizontal, I mean. Long horizontal windows reflecting a more contemporary look. So here we go on the lower right hand. Can you explain what those, why they're long and wide as they are?
To get we're trying to get as much light into the space, and some of these spaces, there is construction or constraint because of cabinetry. And we kept the ones on the interior because they don't really affect the exterior of the look from the public.
So could you go through the project wide with where all the banded windows are if you, through these
Sure,
elevations?
Yes, so we'll have to go to the plans and look at
No,
where
I think you can
those-
do it through elevations. I think we all understand the elevations enough. So there's those 2, 4, 5,
Right,
and those are on the interior courtyard, correct?
Correct.
that's right.
And then do you have any more?
And the exterior doesn't have any.
Yes, happily.
Here. And then,
So, where's that baby, the lower right hand? Left hand, excuse me, left hand.
Yeah, that's unit G and H, so we're We're on the inside face, right, what we're seeing is the driveway in section.
You know,
Right,
sometimes
because
this
we're-
is just easier.
Great.
Game over.
Do whatever you need to do.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And staff just, oh, I'll let you
Okay.
go. Never mind.
Right, so this is along Castillo.
Yes.
Now we're turning. Oops. Right, so all along the Arriaga side, there aren't any of those horizontal windows.
There's one. Kind of on
Oh, right, on the inside
Yeah,
face.
that little canyon
the,
there.
again, that's the same reason
It's partly for privacy, to get light in, so that's more of a clear story window.
Right, there's a bedroom, it's a bedroom across from a bedroom, so it's
Okay.
it's intended for light and air, but not.
And there's any other on the perpendicular elevations to the off-ramp elevation? Further down?
Let's
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. We're nearly at the corner here on the left side.
Let's just go back to this.
Right, so that's the.
So south, you went to
Back
see
on the
south?
side.
Just want to know where they are.
There's one here on G, H. That's right when you go in the driveway.
Right, on the inside
On the
face of the
interior.
building.
Oh, looking north.
Can you speak into the mic?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yes, me. Excuse me.
So I'm going to zoom out so you can see all of them. So and
So
then
the lower right
document-
hand is where? I'm sorry.
Lower right hand, go ahead, Ellen.
The lower left hand, I think is the one you're asking
Left hand,
about.
yes.
Right, so that's on the inside of the building. As you're going down the driveway, you would see that.
And we're looking
horizontal
toward the
window.
off-ramp, correct?
Yeah, we're looking towards, well, we're looking towards Arriaga. If we saw through, we would look at the bus stop.
Okay, yes, all right, I understand. And then anybody else, any others?
I think that was it.
Okay, I'm pretty well satisfied with that. I'm hoping that the parapet house numbers could be easily manipulated so they're not so contemporary and simply put on the wall or more traditional.
Those are metal cut numbers and letters
I know what they are, yeah.
that are perched on the trellis.
And
So
they're
they're
Yeah,
out.
They're adding to an exceedingly contemporary look. Could you get them on the wall and make them more traditional? That's a comment, excuse me. I'm done.
Board Member Anderson to Chair Whalen's, or Chair Anderson to Board Member Whalen. To answer your question earlier, the 5-limit hearing does start now. So this would be the first hearing. Yes.
Okay, Board Member Black.
Oh.
Questions?
Questions. Just a quick question. Along Arriaga leading onto the freeway there, what's the difference in elevation from the back of sidewalk to those units along? I know the units are stepping down toward the creek, but I'm just trying to get a sense of, there's a slope going down from the back of sidewalk, I'm assuming?
Yeah, here, I think we
There
got some
is, yeah.
topos.
Yeah. And then also, in the same vein, did you indicate that there was going to be a fence, at back of sidewalk? Or is it set
There
back
is
from
a
the sidewalk?
fence, in that picture there, behind the
I know
bus
there's
stop,
sort of a chain link fence.
with a hedge on it.
So what's it going to look like when you're done?
That's not
We don't have control over that fence or any of that landscape.
It's not on
That's-
your property?
No, there's a property in between us and the on that sidewalk of Arriaga.
So it's
It's
going
that
to,
wedge that you see here.
as a question, so that's going to stay the way we see it now? At the back of the bus stop, for instance?
Unless the owner of that property wants to do something, and I believe that's the city of Santa Barbara that owns that. I believe they use that for access to the creek.
Oh, how wide is it?
It varies. It's very narrow at Castillo Corner, and then it widens out. It's a pie-shaped triangular parcel.
But if there's going to be if there's a slope from the back of the sidewalk, how are they going to get access? I'm just curious. I'm trying to understand the grades here, but at any rate.
Sorry, so along the left, we have West Arriaga Street,
Yeah.
right? That's the sidewalk and the bus stop.
Yep.
And then there's that triangular white parcel, which is not our parcel. We're the next one over.
Got it. Okay.
You have a section, don't you, through this that you could?
Might not be
Well-
right there, but we could pull up what we have, if that would be helpful. I thought maybe this image would be helpful.
Yeah,
You
that's,
could
That
see
one
how
might
it goes down.
well, I was trying to understand it relative to what ultimately the landscape is going to look like and how it's going to be treated, so, but that's another question too.
Yeah, and
so
I
have,
think
but-
that's, with this view here, is what we were trying to show, is this will remain.
Yep,
If you go to the next one. So from here over, we can control it, and we are opting to remove it. But from here to the left
I see.
is not.
Right. And we also, it's been determined that we are required to have 2 front yard setbacks. So where that parcel property line is, we're 10 feet over from it all along the Arriaga side of what we're doing. So we have 10 feet to landscape along the lines of what we showed on at the end of that video that we had.
Okay. Okay, another subject. So you talked about sort of the raised corner parapet elements that you've proposed, and I've just noticed they do occur some places but not others, and I'm just, what's your intent? I mean, I see it and I think, okay, well, that looks all right, and then there's buildings in the back that have none of that, so I'm just curious as to
We
what your
have,
approach is.
each of the stucco volumes is cornered by that detail. And then when we have a wood volume interspersed within it, we don't have it. But basically, where there's the stucco volume, it's at the 4 corners.
Like maybe you could go back to the elevation, especially
Sure.
as you see it from Arriaga. So I see that on Castillo you make use of it, but here, okay, so there's one there in the upper right corner, and then as it steps down.
So there's
am I
one
seeing- Okay,
here.
one down below.
It's basically each of these mass of a building is, so there'll be on every corner. So here, and on the opposite corners.
Right, the 2 corners that you don't see right now that face
Right, we
the
did
back.
study it with it was too many the other way, and this seemed to be a good balance.
Okay.
So as you can see here, we got here, corners, corner.
Okay, thank you. I guess those are my questions from now. I have some comments about the landscape plan, but we'll save that for later. Thank you.
Board Member Noon?
I was going to pass on this one, but since it was brought up, we'll beat it up. So back to those ears that you're using, is that where you've randomly placed them? Is that something that is seen elsewhere in the city, or is that just your spin on how you want to approach?
We showed
detail?
examples of buildings across the street and
But
So
they're
that
consistent
happened.
on all corners. I'm saying where you do them randomly, is that something that you pulled from somewhere else in the city, or is that just your spin on how you want to approach some detailing?
I guess we were interpreting the corner placement of them since we have the volumes of that, to kind of make the massing of this work more compatibly with the neighborhood. It's not a clean box the way some of the other examples are that we showed. So it was, I guess, striking a balance between having that detail and applying it to a somewhat different situation.
And no rep, please.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, it actually was a study. There wasn't random, if, we didn't just guess, but we
Sure,
did
sure.
think about kind of where we wanted to see them.
But and I understand there's other buildings in the area that have them on all corners. I was just wondering if there was a reference somewhere where they're similar to the way you placed them.
Not specifically.
And I think what we liked about it is because there's some buildings that don't have them, and there's some that do. And so in our mix, we're kind of contextually getting both of that.
Okay. That's it.
Board Member Sofrin?
Yeah. Let's see. To start, I'm just sort of curious, like with the compatibility, you guys did you showed us sort of like a context analysis. Now, I'm using our general design guidelines here, and in section 3 of infill design guidelines, 1.3.2 compatibility, in our definition here, it does say a study of 10 closest properties and additional properties as needed. And I'm just sort of curious, like I saw your context analysis, but it looked to me like where you're trying to pull from seems to go beyond the 10 closest properties, if I'm right, and seems a bit of sort of like pulling for compatibility. Am I wrong about that? Was there compatibility within 10 of the closest properties?
Not specifically. We didn't do it numerically. We were more looking at a fairly eclectic neighborhood that has a pretty wide variety of roof forms and shapes and materials. Certainly, as we studied things more closely, stucco and wood siding were really predominant wall finish materials. There are a number of smaller homes that certainly have a different kind of aspect to them than what we are doing here. It is a multifamily development. It's not a cottage. And looking at the buildings that are similar to the type of building we're doing, we're seeing things like what's up on the screen, that property immediately to the right of us along Castillo, and then on the opposite side of the street at the corner. It seems the minute we get into a two-story volume development, it tends to go to a flat roof with, the type of detailing that we're showing on our proposal.
Gotcha. So it sounds like you said no at the beginning, that you didn't really stick to the 10 closest properties.
Not the 10 closest,
Okay.
but two
Okay.
or three of the closest. I mean, the one to the right and the one across on the other side of Mission Creek.
Continuing on to next section, 1.3.1, or point 3, design techniques and approaches, and then we go to section A, building design, height and massing. When I go down to this, I'm just kind of curious, when I go to like encourage the use of traditional building materials compatible with neighborhood styles, I appreciate the stucco, but I'm just sort of curious, are there any examples of like awning compatibility within the neighborhood, the design that you've chosen?
The trellises that we have at the front entries, there are similar awnings, somewhat different materials, different shapes and sizes. Again, smaller generally, usually just over the door.
With like that whole lattice with the light coming down the way you have it? Because I didn't see any of that in your, what you provided for your context analysis.
Yeah, we were responding specifically to the building compatibility section that talked about more expression at the front door.
But I think those are at the front doors, right?
Right, building materials, section 2, 1.2.3, front entry elements, porches, trellises, and arbor structures. And that was what we were looking at as we were reviewing the compatibility findings. that those were contributing to.
So just clear, like, are there examples in the neighborhood of a trellis design like the one that you provided?
Not specifically, but that element, yes, is common.
Are there examples of railing compatibility within the neighborhood that you've created?
There aren't very many railings around, probably because, well, there is on site. So there's the 3-unit that has a railing on it along the porch side.
And is your design
facing
for
in.
this compatible to what's existing on site?
The owner's intent is to change that railing over to what we're showing here, so that they would be the same on the property. The other multifamily buildings, like this one in the center of the page that we're looking at, doesn't have any porches or balconies or railings. So there aren't any there. And I think that colored one at the corner also doesn't have any outdoor. So no, not exactly.
Right, so none of the other buildings, all the other houses in the neighborhood? No, okay. Are there examples of window compatibility to the fenestration patterns that you've decided to use?
Absolutely.
Yeah, examples here, for example, on the lower right, or lower left, excuse me. So those sort of sliding windows or casement type windows are pretty similar to a lot of the windows that we're now showing on the building. Rectangular in shape, operable.
Do you think that your design is compatible to that?
We do.
Okay. And then I didn't see any, am I wrong? Was there any like light fixture design call out with this? Do we see outdoor lighting, sconces?
Not at this time. We'll bring that when we come to the final.
Okay. And then if I recall right, did we talk about like plate heights at the last meeting?
Yeah.
And did you guys
You
adjust?
guys already approved the massing and the height from what I remember.
Yeah, can you just remind us what the floor to floor is? That would be helpful.
I don't have it memorized. Let me look. Maybe this is quicker.
Oh, I think it was on that previous page. There was a section through there.
Oh, was it? Yeah, they call it out. Here we go.
I think that might be floor to floor.
Well, it gives you an idea at least. Let's see here.
Yeah, floor to floor is 10 feet, so it would be a 9-foot down below, and I believe the same upstairs as well.
And then last question is the vertical boarding that you have as the siding. Is there are examples in the neighborhood of this
There are.
application?
Yeah, specifically right across the street in mid-block. There's, and it's a different sort of, but it's got vertical wood siding combined with the stucco, the blue stucco and the dark wood vertical siding.
City TV, can we show that image on the overhead camera? Thank you.
The dark wood is a little hard to read, but you can see that it's vertical wood siding.
Okay, that's all my questions.
Okay. Board Member Anderson?
I recall maybe 2 iterations back you had a hip to roof. Is there a reason why you didn't do slope to roof at all?
We didn't come away with many positive comments when we had that hipped roof. and it seemed that a parapet roof was going to work better with the massing on what we were designing. And we saw a lot of flat roofs in the immediate vicinity of the building. So we thought that was an acceptable and compatible approach.
Okay. And if you flip back to the elevation here, I think it's 4D, keynote 4D. So you've got a little parapet flashing. What material is that?
Galvanized metal,
Okay.
colored to match the wood.
Okay. And then for the board form concrete, so does the plaster is that in plane with the concrete? It just terminates directly into that? Or there's some kind of
Let me get to.
shadow line or offset or?
So basically, where there is a retaining wall, we're leaving it the board formed concrete, and the stucco does come down, and the stucco is proud of the wood in all locations, and the stucco would be a little bit proud of the board formed concrete as well. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. So then was there a reason why the board form occurs where it does? Because it looks like in some cases, for instance, where it says existing grade, you've got the plaster going all the way down, but I guess there's a concrete pad there, or? Because it seems like you've got this board form concrete wainscoting occurring in some areas, but then in some areas the plaster goes all the way down to the apparent.
Yeah, as you know, it's really difficult on a lot like this to show a section cut right in front of it so it might be better for us just to go back to a rendering or looking at, because my answer to that is it's not doing that actually.
What? Okay, yeah, like in this one, is that the plaster going all the way down?
Yes, it's the plaster going all the way down.
Was there a
It's
reason?
only where we have retaining walls below grade that those occur.
I see. So it's expressing the site retention, okay.
Right. So on the outside along Arriaga, you're seeing the backside of where that carport was, where we have a retaining wall.
I see.
Yeah, exactly right in that area.
Okay. I think that's most of my questions for now. So are the windows set in? Is there some sort of
Yep.
depth on the jamb?
Within
Okay.
the depth of the walls.
They're double framed to give that look, which is what we do all around town. So it's a nice shadow line.
Okay. All right. That's my questions. Thanks.
Okay. I have a few follow-up questions. One regarding the fenestration styles within your project. I noticed that they're not all the same size, and then some have horizontal mullions, some don't. Maybe you could talk a little bit about why you chose what you did and if there's some sort of design rule you picked, like with the wood, they're this way, and the plaster, they're this way.
You want me to?
Sure.
Okay. What we did is we didn't want to make it look like a really big complex. We wanted to have individuality between the different designs of so the commonality is the materials, but we wanted to differentiate. Not every building looked exactly the same. So that is why some of the shape and sizes are different. A lot of them are driven by the actual location of the windows. So some are in front of a kitchen sink. And so obviously we have a different functionality for it. Some are in a bedroom. And so we're trying to give some sort of privacy there. And then others are actually, like one of them is not even, it goes into the carport, which is this guy here. And we wanted to give it some sort of streetscape and a look that matched the rest of the building. So, like for instance, casement here is a bathroom. And this is a casement and a fixed. So a lot of it is, and it may change in final exactly where those mullions are. But we're trying to avoid, what we added to this was not a big sheet of glass that looked uber modern, which was kind of more, this represents the neighborhood a little more because we added the mullions to the project.
I would also add just, in more traditional architecture, there is this variety of window shapes and sizes and functions, and that was part of how we were trying to, make it more compatible with local architecture.
Okay. And then on the wood siding, what is your intention for species and finish on the wood? What are you, because in this picture it looks like cedar siding, and I'm just curious what your intentions are.
That's the intent, cedar.
And to let it go gray? Okay. Okay. Any follow-up questions?
Yes, Chair Anderson, one teensy weensy thing that you probably haven't thought about. Any idea where the complex post office box is going to be, the great communal locator for the village? Have you identified a place yet for that?
We talked about 2 separate spots, and one was over here by the bike room, where it had a common...
Down in the motor court.
Exactly, where you can access the property without being in the drive, where it's safer. So if you're walking, you could walk down these stairs. And then we also talked about perhaps doing it here by the ADUs. And so we haven't quite...
That would be in consultation with the post office, right?
Correct.
They don't really want to drive down there or even walk down there, but I'm getting off point. Thank you.
That's a good suggestion, though. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, let's go to comments, and they're here for project design approval. So who would like to start? Vice Chair?
Sure. Maybe you noticed I am wearing my Fiesta apparel, or at least this is Fiesta as I get. And on that point, I had the privilege of being a volunteer docent all this past week at Lotus Land, Belo Escuardo, and the courthouse. And as such, I talked with people who come to visit us, to come year after year back to Santa Barbara because of its unique identity and sense of place. And I say this as a preface to my comments. I believe Mr. Safran was quoting from the guidelines, and this is, I'm paraphrasing, but areas without distinctive architecture, areas that do not possess a distinctive style, the structures should be designed to lead those areas towards a harmonious within that Santa Barbara's distinctly built environment. And what I get repeatedly, since this is your 3rd visit, that you're sort of cherry picking, if you will, this detail from there and there. My idea, and that expressed as an identifying structure as one gets on and off the freeway, that it really doesn't say, yes, I'm in Santa Barbara, as much as it says, I've just picked up these ideas from around the neighborhood. So that's in a big world, it just doesn't say Santa Barbara to me the way that I think the intention of the guidelines should. Now, like we've said before, the massing is just fine. In fact, I think there's some very interesting little places where it's carved out and that reflect those early ideas of modernism, such as the George Washington Smith house that he built for himself, now called on Middle Road, the Hebner house. They're just very simple plaster boxes with random openings. But clearly, if you were to peek inside, and I think if I were to peek inside any of your units, they would have this wonderful volumetric expression that I think you've been very successful about. But those gestures that George Washington Smith was such a master at aren't really at work here. There's another Irving Gill project, this housing project out in Sierra Madre, which your project reminds me a lot of. It's a repetitive notion that wraps around a corner, the Bella Vista Terrace Court. Again, that has a unifying feel to it, and the simplicity of volumes that Gill was such a master at. So I think I'll leave the more specific stuff to other board members, but briefly, I disagree that the trellises and the railings identify with Santa Barbara architecture. I think they're much too modern an expression for what would be appropriate. The vertical wood siding, while you pointed out an example, I question that example. I'd have to go up and look at just how wide those boards are and if they were actually original to that house. But in this expression, they don't seem to clearly express, as the example you point out, that Santa Barbara style. And the fenestration doesn't seem to have any rigor to it. It seems very random in the size, displacement, and configuration on the buildings. Those are just random points that I will let other board members develop more carefully. Thank you, Chair Anderson.
Board Member 6.
Yes, I concur with that. I'll be more specific, that it has come a long way from where it has been. It's becoming neutral enough to begin to not be a shocking contrast to its context, but I just don't understand this applicant's resistance to, one of the mantras in our old firm was, your goal is to get an approval. So anyway, I still see this as a contemporary design with very, over the 3 or 4 times it's been here, slow introduction of elements that have subtle nods to compatibility, but it's still contemporary. And I wish that you would go serious into statements and elements that would make it easier for us. For instance, these parapet corners, that's kind of the idea that we're given examples of, but, why off-center them and have only one corner? If there's too many of them, make them smaller and make them symmetrical as most every other traditional examples of them are. I think that the window placement, especially along, and proportions, and the variety is okay of the windows on the most of the elevations exterior are okay, are traditional proportions and placement, with the exception of the horizontal windows that we're still seeing. And if I was trying to get a approval, I would, for example, a sequence of 4 smaller windows with a stucco between each one of them, with a significant width of stucco between them, at least a half width of each of the windows. The siding, I know that I was one of those that said supported an all stucco project, so I understand the sympathies of the rest of the board to change materials. I think when I look at some of the modeling you have, and such as the title sheet, 3-dimensional, The coloring of that wood siding is less contrasting to the white. I think that I could accept that subtle texture. Again, the nod to simple Irving Gill expression of all white, but if we have a very subtle contrasting alternate material, I could find that okay. As I said earlier, the parapet house numbers are very contemporary and are defeating your attempt, and a painful attempt to get to a point where we can find this compatible. It's strikingly modern, and I think there is an opportunity to deviate, and we don't have to be frozen in the style of the community, but you know, we do have to have some significant compatibility. Last item I forgot was if the stucco is proud of these concrete forms, why can't the stucco just go down to the ground and get back to, you know, several times I've said that, you know, traditional is on a mass-based architecture where the stucco mass or the mass wall goes down and is supported by the ground. So I think that would be an easy solution and something that would make a lot of difference. So it's come a long way. But it's still a contemporary design with insignificant token nods to be compatible.
Board Member Black?
Yeah, I would agree with those comments. And the first time I saw the elevation with the little raised corner parapet, I thought there was a certain comfort that I saw when I first looked at it. I went, oh, okay, that's beginning to feel like something compatible with the neighborhood. And then I noticed that it only occurs in certain corners, and I thought, well, so I just think it seems like every example that you cited in the neighborhood, even it had a detail, whether it was a little tiled shed, you know, or cover at front doors, or it seems like everyone had some tile element throughout, which was a nod to a more traditional approach to the architecture. This does not have that, and so enough said about the architecture. But I have real problems, as it was been mentioned, with the windows and some of those horizontal and vertical shapes. I just don't think they work. They're more of a contemporary approach to the design that I don't think is appropriate. And then I'll have to say something about the landscape plan. I think it's inadequate for our purposes. In terms, it's certainly inadequate in my view for PDA. There's no description of what the intent of the landscape is. You know, be screening or ornamental this or that, or there's no plant list. There's no suggestion of what the plants would be, you know, anywhere. So other than, you know, a 12-foot canopy tree, and that's it. So I think you really need to sort of flesh that out in a more complete way. And those are my comments.
Board Member Noon?
I'll just take a little bit of time to reiterate the size, mass, bulk, and scale is successful. I think the rest of the board feels that way. I think enough has been said about the architecture. There's clear direction, it sounds like, from the board, but I do think that I really appreciate the way you've approached the placement and the use of the site, and I think that's very successful.
Board Member Soffern?
Yeah, I think all the previous comments are pretty spot on. I think that the turrets are a novel concept. They work when you have, it seems, other structures that are more simple, but when you're combining and trying to make this big unit seem like, or these units seem like they're multiple buildings, I think that's where the conflict. So I love the concept of the turret. I like a lot of these concepts, but this is the wrong place for a lot of what you're applying. It doesn't belong here the way you're doing it. So, and I know, you guys are a great business. You have a diverse work of body. I mean, like your Carrillo Apartments, that seems like a project that would sort of fit this neighborhood better. And, the project has gotten better, but I still think it has a long way to go, and I think that's a wonderful opportunity for you.
Board Member Anderson?
I think, in my view, the project is a lot better than it was because the metal was kind of jarring, and I think it looks good with the white plaster and the wood. The thing I sympathize with some of the public comments that I do feel it looks a little office-y and has a little bit of an institutional feeling, and I think that's because it's kind of the boxiness of the forms. And so I think, in my view, when you're using the hip roofs, and I think I talked about this a little bit in the last review, that maybe some of the roofs could be sloped and some could be flat. And I think that could be a part of the dialogue of these alternating plaster and wood boxes, is that maybe the plaster ones have sloped roofs and the wood ones are flat, or however you might choose to do it. And I think that would help express the strengths of the site design and give a directionality to the units, I guess, because right now as you perceive it, you see the boxes and you see that rotation and plan, right? And I think that if you looked up and saw some sloped roofs kind of falling and cascading down with the site, that wouldn't look bad. I think it might actually look good and help soften the boxiness of the architecture a little bit. So in terms of what material those roofs are, I don't necessarily have a preference on that in terms of any statements on traditionalism or not, but I do think that embracing a sloped roof would not hurt this project. I think actually it would work with the project because you would see the eaves kind of cascading down with the site, and that would maybe kind of pull away from that kind of office-y feel, maybe. Other than that, in terms of the plaster meeting the concrete, I think that getting that detail right is important. It could be that the plaster comes all the way down and is screeded across the concrete, or that the plaster meets the concrete and is flush with it. But I think to have that shadow line is going to give a little bit of a busyness to the elevation. So I think how the building meets the ground in this project, since it is so much about how these masses are sited, is really important, as well as how the expression of how the building meets the sky. To me, that little ornament detail is kind of takes away, in my view, it kind of takes away from the purity of the forms. But in general, I think the site plan is strong and the fundamentals are there, and that it's, in my view, I think it'll be a great project when it is built. So yeah.
Okay, and I'll follow up with a few additional comments. I think the commercial or institutional look is actually coming from the awning and the metal awning at the entrances, and it's starting to look like a commercial space. So I think that is confused with the plaster ornament, and so that's where the confusion of the style of architecture is coming from, those different details. And I think that the fenestration, the proportions do seem off. I do understand that it's designed around the internal functions of the property, of the units, but I think you can still keep them proportional and still provide what you're looking for. So some windows look extremely wide compared to other windows. So maybe it's just, you know, a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1, 1-to-3. Like proportionally, they just read more cohesive as a project. That being said, we're not going to really see the 2 or 3 units. Was that south? Plan south. And so for the concrete, I don't think you're going to see it from the exterior, so I have no problem with that visually. And from the inside, it can be a nice addition from the people who live in it daily. I would definitely relook at the location of the house numbers, put it next to the door, maybe near your light fixture. I think that the 2 materials is successful because of where you've located it. The box is plaster and your entrance is a different material. That starts to make sense. The cedar siding is not something we've seen in this neighborhood. That being said, I use it on a lot of my projects, but not in the city, so I don't know. And I think the other one that makes it look somewhat commercial is the metal railings that in the rendering appeared to be just shiny aluminum. So I would revisit that finish as well.
They're shown as black, aren't they?
Any follow-up comments?
Yes, Chair Anderson, I would dare say that I do not think the project is ready for project design approval at this point.
Okay, what does the rest of the board feel? Same?
I agree.
Okay, so who would like to make a motion, and let's be specific on what we need to see for them to receive PDA at the next hearing? Anyone?
Well, I'll make a start at a motion that the project be continued indefinitely towards design approval, and that the design reflect more of the Santa Barbara character as stated in the guidelines, where it leads to a harmonious blend of Santa Barbara built environment. The materials, the railings, the trellises reflect more of a Santa Barbara character and less of a modern materials and method. The fenestration reflect more of a residential character than an institutional one. That could be size of the openings and the placement in the buildings. The landscape plan return with a more fully fleshed out plant list and location. And I don't quite know what to say about the wood. I'll leave that to others to amend by motion. What did I miss?
Oh, I was gonna to study the application of the turrets and seeing if they're. I'm sorry.
That's just, you mean the.
Ears.
I'm confused when you say.
Oh, they're.
I'm confused when you say turrets
Means
because.
the parapet knobs on the corner.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Because those
sorry.
are parapets.
Oh, really? Oh, sorry. My understanding was they were turrets. So.
Second, or did you just?
No, that was a second. That was an addition.
You got a second first.
Oh, I'll second.
Before we get into details, I sense that to say that it needs to be, with all due respect to the initial maker of the motion, to say it's Santa Barbara character, I don't think is guiding this particular applicant well. I think we should say that it should be compatible to the neighborhood, compatibility. defined by not remote instances, but, the adjacent neighborhood. I think that saying Santa Barbara character is not going to be helpful to this particular applicant. Would you be willing to?
Well, to oppose that, there really isn't much character to the neighborhood, as our design team has proven by their examples, and that to reiterate out of the design guidelines that the design should lead the project. This should be the project that the rest of the neighborhood tries to emulate.
Okay.
I would second Board Member Six's comments in that I think it's critical to provide specific direction that does not fall under the vague terminology of Santa Barbara character.
Would the maker of the motion phrase it, couch it in a way that says more in Santa Barbara character with the following specifics applicable to this project? And we, as a whole board, can add to that list?
Well, certainly, but it is stated in the city charter that buildings should reflect the unique history of the place.
But it's not helping the applicant.
No. And I would posit that saying that it's compatible with the neighborhood doesn't really help the applicants at this point, because that seems to be failing with the review board.
I'm suggesting that we do compatible with the Santa Barbara architecture with specific to more traditional, for example, more traditional parapet manipulations, such as the examples shown in the photographs provided by the applicant, with symmetrical rises in elevation or moldings at the corners, at each corner, that the architecture of the awnings be less metal and more softer and wood or tile, or that kind of thing. I haven't thought it all out, but can we do something like that?
I think we can try to be more specific, but I don't want to start designing this.
Yes, okay.
And I think that because we have seen this project a few times, and we do want to keep this moving forward, and we want to have it come back ready for PDA, I think there are a few things that we can give them direction on. I think, for example, the metal awning is not compatible with the neighborhood. That should be something that is not metal. I mean,
may I suggest that we just list those elements of the building now, not provide materials or design, but say these are the problematic contemporary elements that should be studied.
And is the maker of the motion okay with us doing that for item number 1?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so Board Member 6, would you like to make, let's hear your thoughts.
So if I may, Mr. Wayland, say that the project shall be more in character with the Santa Barbara style, that the following elements of the building need to be revisited to get closer to that goal. Number 1, the metal awnings. Number 2, the treatment of the parapets. Number 3, the house numbers. Number 4, help me, the proportions of the windows, especially the horizontal banded ones.
I think that's,
Railing
The
design?
railings, thank
and the
you.
railing design, okay, I think that's good.
And again, to simply say study or revisit, I think we need to be even more specific that those pieces are not compatible.
I think
So don't come back with, we studied it, and this is what we're going to present again. Those pieces are
Yes,
not
I'm
compatible.
suggesting that that's, if my wording didn't come across
Yeah.
that strong.
That's what you meant, yeah.
That's what I meant, so we could review the wording.
Okay,
Go ahead.
excuse me, the wording that I have currently is the project shall be more in character with the Santa Barbara style, with the following elements of the building needing to be revisited. One, A, the metal awnings, the treatment of the parapets, C, the house numbers, D, the proportion of the windows, and E, the railing design.
Yes.
Is there anything else, folks?
I'd like to add a more complete landscape, preliminary landscape plan.
That's on there, so
Is it?
that, this
Okay.
is just the elements of the architecture that
understand.
need to be revisited. And then our number 2 and 3 of the motion had to do with the landscape plan, correct?
Can I ask one question about number 1?
Okay.
Sorry. Is just, you know, to try and provide some clarity where we're saying Santa Barbara styles, is it reasonable to say for these items listed that, you know, to really sort of ensure and do the research that they are compatible with the neighborhood?
Also,
Does that offer clarity? I mean, look around the neighborhood, look what's there. We have in our guidelines how you're supposed to
Well,
evaluate that.
I hear what you're saying. I mean, I'm not the maker of the motion. I don't think that we need to make them say that this has to be traditional in the sense of the Spanish colonial style, or this has to be
I didn't say that.
traditional in the, right, but you're saying to look at an example in the street and match that, and I don't know if that needs to be, I don't think we need to say that either. I think if it's wood, then it needs to be detailed appropriately, and it needs to be detailed appropriately with the architectural style that they're proposing, and that if it's cohesive with the style that they're proposing, then I don't think we're gonna have a big issue, is my take. Because right now, the architecture is confused, and it's not compatible with the neighborhood for that reason alone, and besides the different detailing that's kind of put together. So I think if it's a cohesive design, the details match that design, then I think we can find compatibility without it having to match the neighbor across the street, is my take. That's my point, so. Okay, so can you,
do we need to mention on that list of number 1, are people settled with the vertical cedar wood?
I don't know, I tried to get a project through with that and y'all shut me down, so I have no comment from me.
Are you saying we should be consistent?
Well, maybe, but I think it looks nice in this instance.
For the purposes of discussion, Member 6 mentioned a confusion on the clarity of the straw vote from our last meeting, where all plaster building did not receive any votes. That doesn't prohibit you from doing an all plaster
Okay.
building. It was
All right.
just that nobody supported that notion.
Okay, can you reread number 2 and 3 of our motion?
Okay, the second one that I have is that the fenestration, well, that kind of goes away
Yeah,
because we
you can
addressed
say-
that in the
okay.
first one. And then we have a fully fleshed out landscaping plan be provided at the return for project design approval.
Preliminary landscape plan,
Okay, preliminary,
Which
okay.
would include a plant list.
right?
Okay.
Oh, I just wanted to ask, so nobody wanted the roofs that I was talking about, or some sort of
Well, I feel like we kind of talked about in the last couple meetings, and I don't necessarily want to go backwards.
I think if they want
feel-
to approach the parapets with something different, then, and forgive the term, the randomly placed ears, I think they're called. If they want to come back with something else, we're not telling them that they have to be this way or that way. They're just going to.
Okay.
It's been so painful to get this far. I am concerned about introducing, a whole new language that we struggle over again. My take.
Well, I just was responding to public comment and also just my own reaction to it, of the boxiness of it. And I don't think, for me, when I look at it, I don't have a problem with style so much, or stylistic ambiguity or stylistic confusion. I don't, see introducing a sloped roof as they had in prior applications to be deviating somehow. So I guess I'm just reiterating my.
Yeah.
It's a good comment, but we
It's
don't
a
want
good comment. I don't know if it needs, if we need to
condition them to that.
condition that in the motion.
Okay, well, it does seem that the list of comments so far is pretty achievable. I don't think it's as significant of a, redesign the whole project kind of thing, because.
Our comments so far in the motion, correct? Yeah.
So.
We're not trying to, make it.
I do support Member Anderson's notion about a hipped roof. Your earlier plan had a hipped roof inside the parapet. I think this would add to the visibility of the off-ramp. And since you're just going to catch the top part of the building, it would really be a strong indicator.
And Chair Anderson and Member Anderson, I think we've discussed it, so they can take it where they want to. I don't think we have to, what do you call it?
Condition it.
Memorialize it or put it in writing.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, let's take a vote on the motion.
Okay, and I just need clarification. So who seconded the motion? Okay, great. Just want to make sure I got that right.
Do you want to, we can ask.
It's been a lot of talk, so I'm just curious what these.
Well,
Before we vote, I'm sorry, did we skirt the idea of the vertical?
Yeah, I don't think
Sears,
anyone else had a problem with it. I don't love it. You don't love it?
I
Oh.
agree. It shouldn't be conditioned.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay.
Okay, we will take a vote. Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Yes.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Black.
Yes.
Board Member Noon.
Yes?
Board Member Six.
Yes.
Board Member Sovereign.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Thank you. We'll see you back here.
Can we close the meeting?
We can adjourn our meeting for August 4th, 2025.